Hey guys, thank you so very much and welcome back. My name is Clark Garrison, and many of you, as I always say, know me from my radio show, The Conversation, which started back in 2010. We've been rocking and rolling ever since. And some of you even know me that I'm the owner of Survival Radio Network. It's a network with over 1.4 million listeners, and our brand, our mantra, is to inspire, motivate, and educate listeners worldwide. And I appreciate every last one of you who've listened to any one of our shows on there. But what most people don't know is that the journey from my show and the network and really everything that has come after that all started with a book I wrote back in 2009 called How to Survive the Next 365. And here is said book. Um, it really was 12 principles at a time in my life when I really needed something to hold on to. As many of you knew, back in 2008, the world collapsed. At least it felt like the world collapsed, certainly in my circle of influence. And I was searching for an answer to what did I do wrong? What was, you know, I thought I prepared and I thought I was thrifty with money and all of the things that many of you, I'm sure, were going through at that time when either you lost your job or house, home, car, relationship, you name it, everybody was losing everything. And I probably would have jumped off the bridge, but I live in Georgia and the bridges aren't that high. So I realized I would just hurt myself and wouldn't kill myself. Uh, but what I did is I started reaching out to people who weren't running around with their heads chopped off because, despite what the news and media put out every day, everyone was not running from the hills. So I would sit down with these people, no matter where they were, buy them a cup of coffee or whatever I could afford to just sit and ask them, what are you doing that I'm not doing? What did you prepare for? What's in your life that perhaps I need to include in mine? And so the book became maybe 12 of those principles. And from that came a lot of the ideologies that we're going to be talking about today. But what I like to say is they are out of the box principles, practices, and ideologies, meaning that they're not commonplace, especially in the Western hemisphere of the world. And so let me talk a little bit about why we created 2016 Taking Back Your Life. During this series, I'll be interviewing some remarkable people, one of which you'll hear tonight, who'll be sharing with you concepts, strategies, ideologies, blueprints to getting back your life back on track. We're going to take the focus of all aspects of your life, spiritual, physical, and best of all, one that I love, metaphysical. Now, metaphysical simply means above the physical. So many of you are only one turn away from being the better version of you. And others, man, you need a tune-up like, I did. So it doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to cover all aspects of that in Taking Back Your Life series. Now, my guest tonight helps people learn how they can restore harmony in their lives and open to a higher level of prosperity, vitality, joy, and expanded awareness. He's an accomplished musician, healer, and speaker. So please, without further ado, welcome to the show, my good friend, Mark Romero. Hey, Mark, what's going on, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? You're
I
going
am.
on. Tonight's going on.
That's right. And, Mark, you remember those tales of when I first started my radio show back in, I think, 2010. You were one of my first guests in the first year.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's crazy to think that that was already like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
We
Well,
just like time warp to today.
hopefully we grew. That's the best thing I can say. Hopefully we grew.
I think that's a given. It's almost like in this day and age, it's like you can't like not grow. You can try not to,
Yeah.
but man, I always say, what? The universe comes with a big volume knob, man. Don't mess around with it because it'll crank that volume on you until it gets your attention. So I think, so many of us are just, we got to grow and evolve and unfold regardless. Whether we're open to it or not, it's happening.
You're absolutely right. And let me do a little house cleaning for those who are tuning in. Guys, if you're tuning in and you'd like to ask Mark any question, actually, let me turn it on right now. I've got the Q&A button on. So right there at the player, there's a Q&A button. All you got to do is click on that and type in whatever your question or comment is. I will receive it and I will get that out on the air or let Mark you have something, know that you have something you want to say. The other way, if for whatever reason you can't find that, if you're on the actual event page, then all you need to do is just type it in on the event page, hit send, and I'll see it there as well. For more information about Mark and other things that we're going to give you his website later, but you can go to my website at clarkgarrison.com. Very easy, because if you look at my name, you can spell it right there. So clarkgarrison.com. So Mark, I'm gonna jump right in because I've got like 100 questions I want to ask. We won't get them all in, but let's start at the very beginning. And I know you received a crash course in Energy 101 many moons ago. For our listeners here tonight, I wonder if you mind giving us an abridged version of what that was and what it means even today.
It's like, gosh, it's like, man, talk about having your whole paradigm that you have, your view of the world get shaken up. And for me, it was like I got invited to a lecture, and this lecture was being hosted by some quantum physicist, a former top consultant to NASA, who was really talking about creating vibrant health and opening up to higher levels of awareness and reducing stress. That was kind of the theme of the program. So they called me up. They said, Mark, you got to bring your guitar to this event. Come to this event. Okay. So I figure I'm going to show up there. I'm going to play during donut time or something. That was really what I thought. And I get there and I start learning about quantum physics, about energy, about how what we experience through our senses is the tip of the iceberg of who and what we are. And there are things going on outside what we can perceive through our hearing, our physical senses that we're so used to living life through. But there's so much going on. And in essence, how really, for lack of better terms, the miscreations that we put into our modern day world, all the chemicals, the Wi-Fi, the smart meters, the cell phone signals, EMS, all these different things, these scientists were proving that they're putting our energy into disharmony and actually having a negative impact upon our health, our wellness, our mental functions, and our overall awareness of the truth of who and what we are. So I came to this event, man, I was like blown away. And that was really my introduction to really looking at the world beyond, what I've been taught in school, what had been told to me growing up. I think with many of us, this is the way that
Sure.
life is. What you experience through your senses is the scope of reality. And I'm like, that is not the case. What we experience through our senses and who we see in the mirror is the tip of the iceberg of who and what we are. There is so much more to us. Not only that, but we are also just wonderful, beautiful expressions of a field of energy that is unlimited in its potential. And so that night, I mean, I'm like, going, what the heck? I was like blown away, never seen anything like this before, experienced it. I mean, we were doing demonstrations on what happens when you tune your energy and just the physical shifts that I would see in people's lives. I mean, it was really an eye-opening experience, and that's what I consider my energy 101 awakening.
Mhm. So from that awakening, what led you to, I guess, sharing that with people in a way that ultimately would bring an awakening for them? I mean, because you could have kept that and just enjoyed it yourself and had it build you up in a way that where you are now. But you decided not only to do that, but to share it with the world. And what led you to that?
Well, I think because at that event, I thought I was going, like I said, I thought I was going to play during donut time, literally during break or something. I had no idea. So here I am getting this download of information on energy and quantum physics and consciousness. And halfway through the program, Dr. Jones, who was the lead scientist, asked me to come up and start playing music on stage. And while I was doing this, they were doing physical demonstrations with people like applied kinesiology, range of motion testing. And for those of you that don't know, applied kinesiology is basically, the body's smart, man. It knows what's good for it, it knows what's not good for it. When it's exposed to what's not good for it, it's going to go into a weakened state. So they're doing these demonstrations on stage. Well, I come up there quite naively, I might add, and I start playing, and I see people instantly shift their physical energy, increase in strength, flexibility, endurance, coordination, and balance. So I think why I kind of brought that forward was I learned that night that I could influence the field of energy that we're all expressions of, positively and powerfully influence that field of energy. In reality, we all do. In fact, we're all doing it whether we're conscious of it or not.
Right.
And so, but that night I became conscious of it. Not only did I hear and learn all this tremendous information, which really kind of sparked, real passionate curiosity on my part about, well, okay, if all the stuff that I learned in school is incomplete, what is it that I need to learn to fill in those blank spaces? So it really was an inspiration for me to start learning more about consciousness, about epigenetics, about energy, about, chi and all the different, how we can restore harmony in our lives, and ultimately how I could use music as a tool to help people heal their lives.
Well, I also read while being nosy and checking out all the things that you've been doing and what led up to this moment. I also understand you discovered that your music early on had a positive effect with children with autism, ADHD, Alzheimer patients, and the causing of stress. What were some of the changes that you would see in these patients and these people that your music actually was doing?
One of the, I went and I met this woman in New York City. I was doing an event out there, and she bought a CD. And I got home, after the trip, and she sends me an email, like, or calls me up, and she was frantic. She's like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on with your music?" I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, my mom has advanced Alzheimer's." She goes, "I'm playing this music, and I'm seeing a difference in her coherency. I'm seeing a difference in her physical energy and in her strength." She goes, what's the story behind this?" And so she ended up bringing me to an event in in Vancouver, and we did an event. I met her mom. I played live and talked about energy and music and all this stuff. Did my demonstrations and everything. And then once again, I get home. She calls me up. She's like, going, "Oh my gosh!" She goes, "Your music is rocking the boat. My mom has no short-term memory." She goes, "I'm playing the music 2 days after your event." And she goes, "Oh, this is that nice boy we saw the other night that
Hmm.
was, playing music and everything." I said, "Well, just the fact that she thought I was a boy, mom's okay." And because I'm like, okay, it's been a long time since I was like 13 years old. And
Right.
so that was when I first started to hear that. And then I started to get feedback from, another guy who had a nephew who was autistic, who had no focused attention. And once again, I was doing a speaking gig, bought a CD, complete skeptic. This guy thought I was full of it, man. And he sends me an email. "Dude, what's going on?" He goes, "I played your music while I had my nephew in the car." He said, "For 45 minutes, we had focused conversation. Never been able to have that with him. I don't understand it, but something's going on." So I literally,
Mm.
as soon as I started getting the music, I started hearing all kinds of things, not only on the mental aspect, but also people recovering from surgery, people dealing with chronic nervous conditions, stress, anxiety issues. And, quite honestly, I was kind of a skeptic in stepping into this. I thought maybe Doc and the scientists had taken too much acid or something back in the 60s, and that was really what I honestly thought. But as I started getting more and more feedback, I'm like kind of going, okay, there's something going on here, and I'm opening up to the possibility that something as simple as my music can have a powerful effect on people's lives.
Wow. Well, I got to admit, I didn't tell you this, but I actually listened to one of your songs like 15 minutes prior to sending you the link, and it really is transformational. It will, I mean, it's something about it that just brings your vibration down to a comfortable consciousness. So if you guys who are listening have not heard it, we're going to hear some tonight, but it is really transformational is the best way that I can describe it. Which leads me to this question. Many ancient cultures believe in and use music as a form of healing and always have. Why do you think modern science went away from that tradition?
Because it's not tangible. Modern science is all about the left brain and crunching numbers and analyzing words and sentences and all those things. And through the ages, music has always bypassed the left brain.
Hmm,
I could play my music in any country in the world and people get it. It doesn't matter
right.
what language they speak. And I think, through the left brainism of science, of technology, we've kind of come to rely upon things like logic and crunching numbers and one plus one equals two. And music bypasses all that, it transcends that. It's a language in itself that goes beyond semantics, it goes beyond words, it goes beyond meaning. And I think that's why, through thousands of years, music has been a powerful transformational vehicle because it really bypasses that. Why did science get away from it? Well, because I think we kind of come a little too reliant upon our left brain and logical and critical thinking, and there's this whole other aspect of the right brain, of creativity, of intuition, of living from a space of feeling, from heart space and stuff, that as a result of the modernization of our society, we seem to have gotten away from that.
Well, you're absolutely right, especially going back to what you said about music being a language of its own. I know I don't get a chance to go out as much, but every time I'm able to hear an opera, I always go hear one in another language. But it seems as if you almost know by the tone of the music what is going on in that particular scene and what's being said and what emotions are being emoted. So it it it, it speaks to it right there.
Absolutely. You can like play opera and you don't even know, they're speaking in another language and all of a
Right,
sudden tears are coming down your face. You don't know
right.
how is that happening? It's because music has that ability like to get to right to the heart of the matter. And
Hmm.
I think that's really what it has the ability to do.
Well, this is a perfect segue. One of the points where I wanted to see if we could uh, hear a little bit of your music and talk a little bit about it afterwards,
Yeah,
kind of experience
absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
Perfect. Well,
definitely.
we'll just let you get set up and whatever you want to play. I've got a question about something specifically a little later that we'll have you play, but right now I just want them to get an idea of the style of music you play, and then once we hear it, we'll talk a little bit about it. So
Okay,
whatever your
cool.
choice is.
Well, I'll give a little backdrop before I go into this piece.
Okay.
So, I found out that my music had this energy and these frequencies in it, and that it helped to. This is basically what the scientists told me, that this music, when playing in the environment, helped to eliminate the static and noise that's being caused by our technology, EMF, cell phones, all the chemicals in our environment, all the different things that we're being exposed to every day. And more so now than ever before. Cell towers, Wi Fi, all these things are so prevalent now. And these scientists were basically showing how this stuff is literally filled our environment with static and noise. It's causing stress,
Mhm.
it's causing anxiety, it's having all kinds of implications upon us. So when the music actually plays, it actually, in essence, rises people above the static and noise. So they're
Mhm.
able to feel more grounded, more calm, more relaxed. All this stuff's impacting us, and we don't even realize it. Well, out of that discovery, I got this idea one day because I do a lot of coaching and transformational work with people. My passion's really around helping people bring their music, their passion, their callings forward into the world and to express that and to express it magnificently.
Mhm.
Um, and so I started playing music to my coaching clients to help them to move past places, where we all get stuck. We all get stuck in life at one time or another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one of those types of pieces, just a little something for us to um, really kind of help to unlock our potential. All of us have such amazing potential. And I don't care where you're at in life, there's more potential to unlock. It's like we can never reach the pinnacle and say, okay, I've learned everything I need to learn and I'm top dog. And no, because it's never done. We're never done unfolding and evolving. That's just the nature of the universe itself. So this piece is kind of about opening up to that and continuing that process of unfolding. You mentioned at the beginning of the call about, or we were chatting before the call about
Mhm.
how life's unfolding, man. We're getting pushed to evolve and to open up to new possibilities. So this is kind of a piece to help support that. So anytime that I use these, what I call musical mantra pieces, I always ask people to set an intention for themselves. What would you like to unfold into? How would you like to improve your life? Set an intention. And an intention plants the seed. From the seed, the tree of your dreams comes to fruition. But you got to plant the seed first. So, whatever that is for you, and while I play this piece, just take some nice deep breaths and just maybe visualize a little bit what it would look like, your tree grown. What's your vision? Maybe for your radio shows, or, whatever it is for your listeners, or however that looks. Play big. Come at it with the spirit of a kid and see what opens up for you. So, this is a little musical mantra piece for unlocking our potential. So, just take some nice deep breaths.
You know, I decided when I to to listen to that, I wanted to just be
Mm-hmm.
and see what happens. And it's two things that I noticed were happening to me. One, I was aware of my breath, my breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me slow down my breathing. Like, I know because I've studied this a lot with other people that humans now in 21st century, we breathe very short and erratic breath anyways, unless we're properly trained. And so,
Right.
but the first thing that happened to me while you were playing was that I started breathing a lot more deeply. The
Mm.
second thing is the noise in my head that is going like 24/7 started to leave.
Yeah.
And so those are two unique things that obviously have a positive effect on your body, on your mind, on your spirit, on your energy, on your vibrational levels. So it was amazing.
Well, and if you think about it, the breath, and you're right. We breathe so shallow. We breathe up top here. We never do belly breathing. We got to keep our abs looking all good. We don't want to do our belly breathing and stuff.
Right, right.
But man, that's like before I take time to meditate and have quiet time, I'll do breathing processes. And there's so much benefit that can come from that, even taking time to focus on the breath itself and to begin to quiet all the activity that goes on in here, because we're like thinking stuff and thinking stuff on top of stuff, and it's like when you can quiet that, that's when you can get in touch with that still small voice of wisdom that's within, that inner guidance, whether you call it your higher self or the divine, insert what you're comfortable with there, but there's something magical that can open. So that's great feedback. I love to hear that, because who knows what you can create out of that space. The
Oh, wow.
possibilities are
Yeah,
endless.
absolutely. Where does music come from in your life? I mean, were you classically trained? Did you always know you wanted to be a musician, or did you kind of fall into it?
um, well, I remember when I was a kid playing with the tennis racket. Okay, I'm going to date myself here, but I was a big Pink Floyd fan. Okay,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
so I'd
yeah,
be playing the
yeah.
tennis racket, and then
Right.
I went to go see them in concert back in 1980. I went to go see The Wall in concert,
Sweet.
and I go, oh man! The next day I was like water on rock on my dad. Man, Dad, you got to get me a guitar for my birthday. Dad, you got to get me a guitar for my birthday. Well, he got me a guitar, so I picked that thing up and I never put it down. I'm just
Mm.
like, oh my gosh! So I did. I took lessons. I played rock. I think where every kid starts off, you got to learn how to play Stairway to Heaven and all the cool stuff. And then I started getting into jazz. I took classes in school. I took private lessons, and then from there went into like Spanish classical and flamenco, and then
Mm.
basically I just kind of started combining those different styles into my own thing, and it they were like almost like paints and brushes, and then I could paint and brush, whatever I wanted to paint. So it's over the years, it's just kind of evolved and unfolded. But I've studied with a lot of great teachers, and there's a great professor of classical guitar that I studied with that was phenomenal. And then from there, it's just about practicing and allowing my imagination to run amok. So like all those musical mantra pieces, as I created them, they were created on the fly. I would say, okay,
Wow.
this coaching client, this person I'm working with needs to love themselves more. So out comes a piece of self love, and I record it, and then I'd send it to them. Play this in your environment, and that's when I started to see people having amazing shifts and breakthroughs in their lives just by playing the music in the environment. It really it continues to blow me away today. The possibilities of what can open up from it. So there you go, man.
I thought I recognized Castilian flamenco in there, so I'm glad you gave that nugget away. I was like, yeah, it's something. I just couldn't put my finger on it, but it's definitely the undertone of that style of music comes through, along with some other things, but definitely that.
Oh yeah, well,
Um,
and then I don't play the pick. I got nails, so people have been thinking I'm a
mhm.
freaky dude with no nails on one hand and nails on the other hand. And then it's all finger strums and different types of styles
Sure.
of strums and stuff. So all that stuff I
Wow.
learned from flamenco and
Yeah.
classical. You know,
Yeah. You got to have strong fingers.
yeah.
Um, I was going somewhere with that. All right. Oh, I know. I know what I was going to ask, which is just a personal question. When you're not playing music yourself, what music do you like to listen to?
I listen to a lot. I still like to listen to classic rock. I still go back and listen to classic rock. I like to listen to other Spanish style music, uh, some jazz stuff. I don't really get too much into the top hits and all that stuff. Now, I have kids, so they're listening to stuff. My oldest is a little bit into more of the classic stuff, but my youngest listens to stuff I cannot, reason with. I guess kind of like my parents probably thought when I was growing up. But I like to listen to a lot of like meditation music, my own stuff, and other people's stuff. So it kind of varies. I kind of mix it up and make playlists of different types of music and stuff. So, but mostly rock based, rock, and then like Spanishy, like Jesse Cook type jazz, Spanish style combined
Hmm.
stuff with guitar. Gives me ideas and inspires me.
Yeah, I'm a bit weird. One of my first loves in music was Def Leppard. So
Okay.
yeah, Photograph was my song. I still hear it in my ear now. So that whole album, yeah.
I did some Def Leppard back in the day.
Right,
Before
right.
I ever started playing a nylon string, it was all about the electric guitar, man. So,
There you go. There you go.
yeah, absolutely.
So you hear these words bantered about all the time, and I know it's big for you. But what does, in your own words, harmony and balance mean to you?
Actually, no, I don't. I kind of stay away from balance, and I'll tell you why. Because if you ever see a teeter totter and it's perfectly balanced, what is it doing? It's not doing anything.
S-
It's just there. There's
Static.
no movement. And harmony to me is about creating waves. You know, the very nature of energy itself is waves and movement. And so it's about, there are different ways you can kind of like define balance. But for me, balance kind of always means stationary, not moving. And harmony means movement and flow. There are going to be some times when I play different strings more than the others, but it all
Mhm.
moves and evolves. And so, for the very nature of life, we can't ever stand still. So, we go through our peaks, we go through our valleys, we go through our flow. And that to me is what harmony is. And we want to be in harmony, we want to be in tune. I could be the best guitarist in the world, but if I didn't tune the instrument, it wouldn't matter. And that's really where people like to call me the harmonizer. Mark, you're like the harmonizer guy. And in essence, I do. I help people tune their strings, their
Mm.
facets of their lives. And people always go, well, how do I know where I'm out of tune? I said, well, where are you experiencing challenges in your life? Where are you feeling blocked? Where are you struggling? And that will inevitably point to where it is that you need to tune your string in your life expression.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I thought it was weird because I was a big believer, and I would always quote the same thing, not in the same words, but I would always have this feeling that balance is overrated. Because you hear everybody who's out in the corporate business world, or not really focused on themselves, and always say, I just want to get balance. And I'm like, so it's so overrated, because when are you ever in perfect balance? I mean, there's always either something going, like you said, waves, either going high or valley, and maybe for a split second you're at that level of zero, but for a split second, and then you get out of balance. I think we've looked at balance as being this perfect utopia, but I really have been against that, and I'm glad you explained it that way, because now I have something visual to look at with energy and the way the energy flows.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because if you go to a visual representation of energy, what is it? It's a wave, right? It's a sine wave. And that wave has a peak. That's where all the yummy stuff in life is, all the feelings that feel good, ecstasy, chocolate, all the good stuff. And then you have the down part of the wave, and that's where we
Mm.
feel sadness, that's where we feel frustration, maybe fear. And unfortunately, we say this is good, that is bad, and we do everything we can to not experience the bad, right? We want to be
Right.
up here on top all the time. That's not the way it works. Life is a flow, man. There's winter, there's spring, there's summer, there's fall, there's high tide, there's low tide, there's new moon, there's full moon. Everything is a cycle. And being that we are energetic beings, energetic expressions, we're in our own cycles too. And it's interesting because the more that you fight and try to resist the down part of the energetic cycle, the longer it stays in your experience. What you
Mm.
resist persists in your life. But yet when we're able to just flow with it and allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel, we can move through those cycles so quickly, so effortlessly. But we've also become masters at internalizing and not expressing those feelings. Get on
True.
social media, have a bowl of cereal, eat some Twinkies, whatever, to anything, drink a beer, do anything but to feel those feelings. And that's been such a detriment to so many of us because internalizing that is I guess as my mom used to tell me, you sweep enough crap underneath the carpet, eventually it's going to burst.
Mm.
And that's the same with us. We have to allow ourselves to process that energy and those feelings and allow ourselves to move through that whole wave cycle.
Well, I see we've got a lot of new listeners on. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to sound healer Mark Romero, and we've covered a lot, and we've got some more to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you have questions, there's a Q&A button. Just type in anything that you want, or on our landing page at the event page, you can just type it there and leave it, and I'll get it in. So, Mark, I want to go talk about something that I absolutely love. I can't get enough of this, which is quantum physics. And I know it plays a big role in your life. But what role does sound play in quantum physics from your point of view?
That's like almost, you could almost ask that question a little bit different.
Okay.
What role does vibration play in quantum physics? And it's everything, because just because your ear can't hear it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you look
Mm.
at some of the basis of quantum physics, and quantum physics is a subject that you can go off the deep end really quick. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can go deep, man. It's like, man, you don't even need drugs to go down the rabbit hole. All you need is quantum physics, man. And you can go down there real fast. But one of the analogies that I love to use when I work with people, when I do my talks, is I say, life responds to sound. Every thought that you hold produces a sound, a vibration. Vibration is sound. You know, it makes a noise. And the universe is like a big ear. It's hearing whatever you're broadcasting. So what are you thinking about every day? What do you are your thoughts of empowerment? Are your thoughts of possibility? Are your thoughts of, infinite choices and decisions and things to do in life? Or are they about lack? Are they about limitation? Or are they about fear? Well, life hears that and it doesn't judge what's good and what's bad. It just responds and mirrors back to you what it is you're broadcasting.
Mm.
And, people don't, and I'm speaking of myself here too. Even sometimes I still have to slap myself upside the face, you know, want to take complete 100% responsibility for their lives, you know. But what you're experiencing in your lives is a manifestation of where it is that you hold your energy, your state of being, your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, what it is that you're broadcasting. All that is sound.
Mm.
And so that mirrors back to you in your experience. And I just have to throw this in. A lot of times we've been told that the way to change life is out there, but you can't. You can't change life out there. It's like looking in the mirror and brushing the mirror, expecting the reflection to change. It doesn't work that way. You got to change within. And you have to change your sound, your music that you're broadcasting to change your life experience. So I think, when people say, what role does sound play? I think it's everything. Even if you look at wisdom traditions, it said, and the word set creation in motion. Well, what is the word? Sound.
Mm.
And with an
Exactly.
intention. And that set the whole creative universe in motion was sound itself. We live in a sound filled universe. So I always say to people, what are you broadcasting? What kind of music you playing in your life through yourself,
Wow.
through your self expression?
Wow, that's huge. One of my favorite experiments that I saw talking about quantum physics is the crystalline experiment where they play certain music and these crystals form these beautiful, elegant, when they harden, formations. And
Yeah.
then they expose them to kind of out of balance vibrational music, and they have these jagged, sharp, rough, not attractive formations. And it just, it blows my mind that sound created that. And if it does that to crystals, as you just said, what does it do to the mind, the body, the spirit? Really, like you said, we can go down that hole and really start to think about things. So that's deep.
Well, I think, you hit on earlier about breathing and about quieting all the noise in your mind.
Hmm.
So key, man, to really begin to access that higher part of us, the part that we're not necessarily always in touch with. That's there. I call that, your higher self, pure consciousness. And that's the basis of who and what we really are. And, the key, I think, for all of us is to get that mind in alignment with that. And that's a lifelong process, man. It's a constant work in process. I always tell people, I say, man, I don't just tune my strings once and never tune them. I have to tune them all the time, all the
Right.
time, all the time.
Just
Same thing.
another personal question. Do you feel humans, and it's broad brush, I know, but do you feel humans over the last 100 years are more informative the way the universe works, or perhaps we're going backwards in our knowledge, our quest, our information? It seems, I and I know it's a weird question, but I get it because I look back on our ancient civilization, and it seems like they were so in tune with many of the principles you're talking about now. Like that was, oh, everybody knows that. And now it's like if you don't get into this small group of cluster of people, if we start talking quantum physics just out on the street, people look at us like we're crazy.
Well, that's true. I think in some ways we're like more distracted than ever
Wow.
before.
Wow.
You know, when was the last time, and I'll put this question out to everybody who's watching. When was the last time you sat in quiet, didn't get on your phone, didn't get on the TV, didn't get connecting with people, talking on the phone to people or texting or whatever, and took time to be in quiet? I think back in the old days, they didn't have TV, they didn't have genetically modified foods, technology, chemicals in our environment, all the stuff that we put in our environment that scientists are now proving is impacting our levels of consciousness and not in a positive way. So I think there's something to be said, because think about how you could connect in if you didn't have all that stuff to distract you. You know, it's like now you can't even go to the bathroom without somebody sending you a text.
Right. And you
We're on
and you
that.
take it with you to the bathroom.
Exactly, exactly. But on the other hand, I also think that we live in a time where there is an awareness that is seeping in, even with all the distraction, even with all the static and noise, that is, people are starting to go, oh, man, you know what? Our political institution is messed up, and we're starting to ask the questions that haven't been asked. Or we're looking at other institutions, the media, or whatever it might be, and go, maybe I shouldn't be eating fast food every day.
Mm.
And we're starting, maybe I should drink better quality water and get away from drinking soda or, different things with sugar and stuff. So I do see this awareness that seems to be coming in to the mix. So it's almost in some ways I think we're smarter, but it's like we've become so distracted, we haven't been able to get in touch with our own inner genius that's there. It's available to us if we just turn the stuff off and take some time to connect to it. Maybe even play some nice music
There you
to,
go.
to enhance that connection.
And I believe, not to get on a political sense, but I do believe that distraction is on purpose. I don't think it's just happenstance. Um, so it's a great segue to my next question. What effect does um, these kinds of specifically, I want to touch on electronics with us being energy, and we talked about sound and vibration and the positive effects that it have on us. Uh, what effect, and I'm looking for the answer more in a specific way, uh, through sound. Do electronics, TV, and those types of things, which we talked about, distract us? What direct effect do you believe they have on us?
Well, I think they put us into disharmony, you know, in essence. And I'm going to give you an analogy I think that we can all relate to. How many of us have one of these? You know,
Oof.
Technology, right? So this has a wireless connection to the ultimate super internet, right? The internet. Well, in essence, we as human beings are like biological supercomputers plugged into the ultimate super internet. We have a wireless connection. So when you say, what's all this stuff doing? It's like, What happens when you're at home and you're working on your pad or your notebook, or you're on your cell phone and you lose connection with the ultimate super internet? The device doesn't work at the level of which it was designed to work. It ceases to function normally. It goes into a state of disharmony. So that's why, if we don't eat good quality foods, for example, we feel it. When you start eating better quality foods and drinking better quality water, you feel better. You have more energy. Why is that? Because you're not disrupting that connection. Because what
Mm.
we all know what it's like when we lose connection, we start cursing at the computer or whatever because we lost our, it's not working. And the
Right.
same principle applies to you and me. So that's really the effect of all these cell phones, Wi-Fi, smart meters, chemicals in our environment. All these different things have filled our environment with static and noise and put us into a state of disharmony by compromising that connection. So when you were asking earlier, are we smarter now or back then? Back then they didn't have all the disruption. They didn't have the static and noise in the environment that we have today. So that's why we have to carve speed. That's what I do with this whole music work is all about opening up so that you can rise above that static and noise of the chemicals, of all the different things in our environment. And that's why we saw these people with Alzheimer's and ADD and recovering from surgeries and stuff have these huge changes because that's what happens when you enhance your connection. And it even goes a step further because you want to have a good connection, but then there's that thing called the operating system software of the mind, you know, because if once again we go back to the technology analogy, you have a computer, right? Where is the internet? Ask the question. Nobody knows where it is on servers out there, right? Somewhere in
Right.
ones and zeros, living out there in the quantum world, so to speak.
Sure.
So you have an operating system software, a mind that decodes ones and zeros and puts them up on the screen for you to experience. The same principle applies to us, to life. We're decoding vibrational information with our mind and putting it out on the movie screen of our lives and in our physical body to mirror back to us. Okay? So, unfortunately, and you kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, many of us are still running MS DOS, Windows 98. We need to upgrade our
Right.
minds. And that means letting go of the limiting thoughts, the beliefs that, oh, you got to work hard to be successful. Oh, life is this way. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve. All that old programming, that's the stuff that's got to go. You change that programming, you can begin to change what mirrors back to you in your experience. And that's the beauty of the quantum world. That's the beauty of the world that we live in. It's an opportunity. I always say that, we come here to play the most masterful game of all, the cosmic game of hide and seek. Okay, we come in here with all of our grandeur, all of our wisdom, all of our magnificence, all of our unlimited potential. We're born and we promptly forget every single bit about it. And then we
Mm.
have parents and teachers and media and all these things that tell us that we're anything but divine, anything but magnificent, anything but unlimited in our potential. And then we get to spend our lifetime reclaiming our power back from those experiences and upgrading the mind, so that we can begin to decode a new reality. I think where we're evolving into, we can't take the thoughts of lack and limitation and I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, or whatever. They can't come with us. We need to get rid of it. It's time to upgrade our OS. What happens when we don't upgrade our computer at home? It ceases eventually, once again, to function at the highest level possible. So it's a lifelong process. It's a lifelong commitment for all of us.
Becomes obsolete.
That's right.
So we're almost at the tail end of this, and I want to end as we started with your music, and I saw a piece and topic that you covered on YouTube, which was effortlessness. Um, if you would, could you explain uh, what that means, and could you also appease us with playing that piece that accompanies that thought?
Well, I can play a new piece because I don't remember what specific
Oh
piece
no,
I
that would
played
be
on that
great.
video.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
However, effortlessness is huge, because, I come out of the corporate world. You know, it was all about hard work, man. It was all about, man, if you want to be successful, you got to work 12 hours a day. And if you want to be extra successful, you got to work 15 hours a day. Well, I did that. And you know what? That's
Mm.
some of that old programming. That model isn't working anymore. Because what's happened is we're dying prematurely. We're breaking down our lives and it's not working. Old paradigm. That's old programming. That's Windows 98. We're upgrading into something much more. So the true essence is, and this is something I still work on a lot in my own personal journey, is I still have a tendency to think that I'm the creator of my experience by the action that I take, by hard work. I have to like catch myself because it's a habit for me, and to realize that no, the true essence, man, my grass out in the front yard, it doesn't struggle with all kinds of effort to grow. It grows effortlessly. The weeds in my backyard, the ones that the kids always get upset when I make them go pick them, they grow effortlessly. The sun does not labor, to move through the sky. The earth does not labor to spin. The true nature of life itself is effortless. We don't have to kill ourselves. We have to get clear on what it is that we wish to, how we want to compose our lives. We set an intention which plants the seed, and then we allow the seed to grow and get ourselves out of the way in the process. That's a whole nother story for another show. Getting ourselves out of the way. So, the true essence of life itself is that of effortlessness. So, I'm always all about having people step into their power. So, I ask the question, are you open to maybe just believing and opening the door to the possibility that your life can be effortless? Just open up to the possibility. Maybe that's a big leap for you, and that's fine. Just whatever if you could just crack open that door and set the intention. Yeah, I'm ready for a little effortlessness in my life, and I'll play, and we'll see what comes out, and we'll go from there. How does that sound?
Even better.
All right, cool. So just once again, just take some nice deep breaths. Just take some nice deep breaths and inhale some effortlessness.
I love it. I first discovered that term and the principles from the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, um, and I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad I saw that video because you're right. We can kick back into the same things of, you know what, if we don't work hard, we won't receive anything, and we just get going. And the perfect example, blade of grass does not try to grow, or it just grows, and so it's a hard principle to release, um, too. But I believe when you can do that, man, things will open up in ways you never knew.
It's interesting. As I was playing it, it kind of, remind me on the guitar. Like I do drills, to work on my scales, like to work on my finger. In that case, that's picado. Okay, and what I
Hmm.
notice is that when I like put effort in it and stuff, my hands tighten up. They don't move as fast, because every guitarist wants to play fast lead lines. It's just like the
Right.
cool thing. You got to play fast lead lines, man. When you're putting the effort in there and trying hard, you can't play as fast as when you get in that space of effortlessness. So, and even
Hmm.
music itself can teach us so many different things because if you're really strumming and playing hard and trying to get to the next place, and your muscles tense up and you're not able to flow. When you're
Hmm.
able to let go of that tension and slip into that space of effortlessness, something amazing happens. And it's a leap of faith because haven't we been trained contrary to that? Haven't we been trained?
Absolutely.
No, you can't. No, man, you got to work hard. What did our dad tell us growing up? Son, if you're going to be successful, you got to work hard,
There you
And,
go.
and I'm sorry, that's once again an older paradigm
Sure.
that's in the process of being obsoleted. Ultimately, is what, because I played that model, all the way to CEO of a multi-million dollar business. And I'm like realizing, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do this another 10 years, man. It's going to kill me. And so I left because I could not, I couldn't operate in that space anymore.
Reminds me of a line from Wall Street, one of my favorite movies, where Michael Douglas tells Charlie Sheen, he's like, "You mean to tell me you think the difference between the guy who makes $10,000 a year and the guy who makes $10 billion a year is effort? Like, you think he works that much harder?" And it really is like, wow, yeah, like the guy who busts his butt for 50 grand, how much more would you have to bust your butt to make $10 million a year? Is that an effort thing, or is that something else? So it speaks to it all in every paradigm we look at.
Yeah, it's a consciousness thing.
Yeah, sure. Well, Mark, thank you so very much. We're up against the time. Where does it go? I've enjoyed this hour like nobody's business, and I know our listeners have. Uh, Before we go, please let everyone know not only how they can reach you, but if you've got some events coming up, if you've got some, and also obviously your coaching, but anything that you've got coming up in the near future, please let us know about it and how we
Okay.
can stay plugged into you.
Well, hey, on Facebook, I'm on Mark Romero Music on Facebook. Same with YouTube, Mark Romero Music. The website is always a great place to come visit. Come learn more about energy, about quantum physics, about healing your life through the power of music. And that's Mark with a K, Romero music.com, markromeromusic.com. In fact, if you go to markromeromusic.com /VIP, there's a way that you could get some free downloads of stress reduction meditation, a track of music, an inspirational movie to remind you of the effortlessness of life, interestingly enough. Once again, that's markromeromusic.com /VIP. I do healing sessions with people. I help people harmonize and their lives, restore harmony. It's like, we all have a song that's within us. That's our purpose. That's our calling. That's our music. And unfortunately, so many of us go through life with our strings out of tune. It's like,
Mm,
I don't care how hard you work, how hard you play, if those strings aren't in tune, you're never going to play beautiful music. You're never going to reach your potential. So that's what I do is I help people reach their potential by restoring harmony in their energy and in their life. So I do sessions, I do coaching work to help people to do that and step into their ability to shape and shift the world around them effortlessly. I might add it, effortlessly. And that's kind of the word for the
There's that
day. Yeah.
the word for the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Love it.
I have a new program that's going to be coming out. It's called Heal Your Life Through the Power of Music. It's an online series. I'm going to be doing a webinar coming at the end of the month and in April. Best thing is to either go to the markromeromusic.com and put your email in. You'll get an email and notice about it, or markromeromusic.com/VIP, and then you can stay in tune to all the things that are coming up. That's my next big thing. I'm going out to the Motor City here in a couple weeks, and I'm going to be announcing
Sweet.
that program and looking forward to getting out there and playing some music and serenading some people and doing some healing work and stuff and helping restore harmony in the world. Because if we all get in tune and in harmony, I think we transform this whole experience. The reason why we see all the stuff we see and the craziness of the world is because we're out of tune. And I figure, well, man, it's time to tune our strings and change what it is that we're experiencing in our lives. So hopefully you'll get a chance. And if you're interested, shoot me a note, support@markromeromusic.com, support@markromeromusic.com. Love to hear from you, hear the comments on Facebook, questions. Hey, I'm available, and I love to answer questions and connect with people. So I appreciate you putting this show on and having me on. It's a pleasure as always. I had a blast.
Oh, absolutely. And guys, if you want to catch this again, the entire raw footage, you can go to our website at, again, www.clarkgarrison.com. Don't forget while you're there to pick up a copy of my book. And let me know if you'd like for me to speak at any one of your audience or work with you as one-on-one coach and get more information about the 2016 Take Back Your Life series that we're having throughout this month and next month. So it's going on in March and April. We've got tons of people that are going to be coming on. Coming up next is actually a dear friend of mine out of Colorado, Mercedes Abreu. She's going to be talking about reaching inner peace, and we've got to go down that particular rabbit hole. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks so much for being a part of this. Please tell people about it who you think would be in tune with the principles and ideologies that we're covering, and be sure to never ever be average. To me, it is the best of the worst and the worst of the best, and that's simply nowhere you want to be. Thanks so very much. We'll see you guys next time.